again, everybody, and welcome back to Reddit Aliens. I'm John, and today we're taking a look at the lighter side of a serious topic. 911 operators of Reddit. What are some of the funnier calls you've ever taken? Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. I once called 911 because I cut my finger and wanted to talk to my mom, who was a dispatcher. I called crying, asking to talk to her by name. She was more pissed at my dad for not waking up when I tried to go to him first. Numerous calls where someone has handcuffed themselves to a significant other during coitus and lost the key. If it's not busy, this seems to draw most available officers. Not me, but a coworker. A person was pleasuring themselves with the handle of a scissors and it got stuck. Was a 911 operator before becoming a paramedic. Had a lot of funny ones, but by far my favorite involved an all too common problem of a kid getting a hold of a locked cell phone and only being able to dial 911. It was Father's Day, mind you. Had this particular kid, about 5 years old, call in at least 6 times, but he'd never stay on the line long enough for us to get a good ping on his cell phone. It was probably about 2200 local at the time, not early but not too late in the night. Long story short, we were finally able to get him to stay on the phone long enough by talking about how his teddy bear was sick. We asked to speak to his parents, and he told us they were in bed and the door was locked. So we asked him to go knock on the door. He then told us he had been locked in his room. Okay, I think we know what's going on now. By this point, we had an officer en route to the kid's house to go make sure everything was okay, and to tell his parents the kid has been calling 911. The officer arrives on scene. A few minutes go by, then the officer comes over the radio and says, S-120 back in service, the teddy bear is 10-4. The officer made his way up to the comm center and proceeded to tell us that the kid's dad answered the door wearing only boxer shorts and was more than a little agitated when he found out his son had been calling 911. Apparently the dad had been getting his Father's Day gift from mom when the officer showed up. Had a grown man calling in about a monster trying to get into his son's room. He's the right kind of frantic where I know it's not a mental health crisis, but I still couldn't figure it out. Well, he's a Middle Eastern male with a real thick accent, and I was having a hard time understanding, so he gave the phone to his son. The monster had climbed a tree and was at his bedroom window, and it was as big as his dog, and it has hands like him but tiny. Wait, what? Right there, I told him to tell the kid to see if it had rings on his tail. Yes, they had just moved to America a month ago and had never heard of raccoons. I couldn't mute myself fast enough, and the father heard me laughing. I think that's what helped calm him down. I explained what a trash panda was and welcomed him to our wild jungle. Edit, holy shit, I broke my phone shortly after posting this and just saw it all. Thanks everyone. A little kid called 911 because he wanted the cops to come arrest his brother. You see, their mom said that the caller's brother was supposed to share the Legos, but he wasn't sharing. The caller's brother said that he was playing with all of the Legos, which wasn't possible. There were too many Legos for one person to play with all of them at once, argued our caller. Therefore, his brother was a liar, a jerk, and a turd, and we needed to come and arrest him. We had a high degree of confidence that this wasn't a coded request for help, so we asked to speak to an adult, confirm that there was no distress, and close the case. Share your Legos, kids. P.S. If your kid ever calls 911, don't get mad at them. We want them to call 911 if they think they should. We would much rather have them call 911 for something silly than have them not call when they should, because they're afraid they'll get in trouble. A man requiring extrication from an Under Armour insulated shirt. His shoulder popped out of the socket while he was pulling it on, was halfway on, halfway off, and his arm was locked and dislocated. I was a 911 dispatcher years ago, but had 2 calls, specific calls, that still make me laugh. 1. A frazzled mother calls her 6-year-old had gotten into the roof and she couldn't get him down. She kept screaming about how we need to hurry, not because she was worried he would get hurt, but because he had done this before and the last time he peed in the air vents. 2. This was before weed was legal in my state, but a college kid called asking for an ambulance. He was super worried that he was having an allergic reaction to the weed he just smoked. When asked about his symptoms, he said, "I just can't stop eating Cheetos." My dad used to be in charge of the 911 call center. One particular story I remember was in like '09. Some guy called asking how much weed he could have in his car while driving through the state. They went back and forth for maybe 20 minutes of the guy repeating and rephrasing the question, and my dad just responding, "None." But seriously, how much? Come on, how much? I briefly worked as a 911 operator. When someone called the non-emergency line, we always answered the same way. Blank police and fire, this is a recorded line. How can I help you? We get a call on that line. I answer as usual, and a very inebriated sounding woman asks the following. Hypothetically speaking, if my boyfriend had a few grams of cocaine and I called the police to tell them about it, would either of us get into any trouble? Ma'am, you're calling the police on a recorded line. I know, but what does the law say? I don't know, ma'am. I'm not a police officer. Would you like me to send one? Yes, please. She gives me her address. An officer responded, but there were no arrests. That one had me scratching my head. My sister once called because she wanted to know who would be on the other end of the line. I couldn't hear what the person said, but I heard my sister's part of the convo. Sister, hello? Who's this? Oh. Then she hung up on the operator. They ended up calling back, and my dad picked up and had to explain that his daughter was just being curious. Not me, but my wife, who works both as a secretary for a fire department and is a volunteer firefighter EMT. A lady calls asking if she can donate a building for a training burn-in. After asking questions, she finds out it's not a building, but an RV. More questions. It's not her RV. It was abandoned on her property. Just a few more questions. It's not exactly abandoned. It's her ex-husband's RV, and he's living in it and won't leave. She wants my wife's fire department to burn it down. Wife's fire department declined. Actual 911 operator here. So far the silliest was the guy who called, all concerned about the number of birds flying around because there was an air show nearby and he was worried the planes would hit the birds. I am not a dispatcher, but when I was a child and like 6, I called the police from the home phone and asked if they would come play with me because I didn't have friends. So they showed up because they have to respond, and I got a lecture from the police and my military parents about the seriousness of calling 911. I just certified as a call taper and got mandated for overtime, of course, on my first shift. Policy was if someone insisted they saw something, we take it at face value and enter the call. Well, this lady called me just after midnight and swore she saw a chupacabra on the west side of Orlando and insisted in an officer doing an area check. Not too long after that, a coworker was in on his night off and left the building. He called 2 minutes later saying he saw a kangaroo hopping down the street. I can't make this shit up. Lady called in because she thought Willie Nelson was having a cardiac arrest in her trailer and she needed an ambulance. I started giving her CPR instructions and come to find out when paramedics got there, she was doing compressions on the couch cushions. I had a guy call in on 911 because he was concerned about a seagull he thought was injured in a Chipotle restaurant parking lot. Apparently, while on the phone, he tried to pick up or check on the bird, at which point the bird started squawking. Then he started freaking out and I started having trouble telling them apart. Then there I could hear what might have been wings flapping, a brief silence, and suddenly the guy started hyperventilating and screaming he needed an ambulance because he was having a heart attack and that the bird flew off. I wasn't sure if he was being serious, so I got him over to EMS as a precaution. Upon transfer and getting EMS on the line, he got very quiet and said, "I think I'm okay, I'll call you back later," and hung up and would not answer on callback. I still wonder about Steven Seagal when I drive by a Chipotle. I was the EMT who pulled the printout that just said, "Off-duty PD call in, man gave name, God, Jehovah, moped." The man was surprisingly lucid and coherent. That's also not his legal name, I asked. The spirit gave it to him that morning, and he was really excited to share it with everyone. A guy called in because his dog had bitten a seagull and was now acting strange. He demanded we find the bird, capture it, and test it for rabies. The whole circumstances were vague, and he was unwilling to listen to reasonable advice, like the bird can't carry rabies. He had the audacity to file a complaint when informed we would not be doing what he wanted. A friend had cops called on him because he was doing liquid at a certain station. It's a form of dancing at raves where your hands seem to look like liquid. The person who called the cops was scared it was satanic or something. There are funny calls that come in all the time. I talked to a pizza delivery guy who couldn't reach his destination because a defiant chicken was standing in the middle of the road. I stayed with him on the phone as he pleaded with it to finally move along. Truly a chicken crossing the road moment. Another time I took a call where a guy insisted he was in an argument with a man dressed as a giant Pepsi bottle. He said the man in the Pepsi suit had stolen his debit card and refused to give it back. Upon arrival, the officers told me he was high as shit and arguing with a vending machine. If I had a nickel for every time a chicken prevented a pizza delivery guy from making a delivery, I'd have enough to buy a Pepsi from an attacking vending machine. Caller called because they got their head stuck in a cat tree, with the cat stuck inside with it. Throughout the call, I kept hearing like, ow, F, and dude, this isn't fun for me either. Dude, I know, F, dude. Caller ended up going to the hospital for a minor case of serious head lacerations. Okay, I don't really know the severity, but I'm sure they got some stitches. The other cool thing was that the caller was using an Apple Watch to call 911 because obviously they wouldn't be able to hold the phone to their ear. We got about a dozen missed dials from Apple Watches a day. It was nice to finally see one being used for real. So I work in the dispatch center for a department that serves a city whose population is just shy of a milli, so we get a shit ton of calls every day. Naturally, you'll get some wild stories about scams, especially these days. Because of this, you quickly become numb to some of the mental gymnastics that people do when they rationalize to me what they sent the IRS $5,000 worth of Best Buy gift cards that had to be purchased from 5 different Best Buy stores. Half the stories give me a chuckle, but overwhelming majority of them just cause me to feel real bad for the person because I know they're not getting any of that money back, which brings me to a call that I took last year. A young woman calls in. She had to be in her late 20s or early 30s. Story starts off like a run-of-the-mill scam, you know? Someone called her from the FBI saying that she had a warrant out for her arrest and that she could clear her name if she sent them money. Well, how much money did they ask for, biracial Angel 9? They told her that all of the money in her checking account would suffice. That's correct. Whatever amount of money she had would do. So that's what she sent, which amounted to about $4,000. But wait, there's more. After feeling bad for her, gathering some additional information, and beginning to let her know reporting options and whatnot, she cuts me off. She says, well, what can I do about the verification pictures? And I'm like, what are you talking about? She said, well, yeah, they said they needed to verify my identity through their body eye verification system. So I sent them several nude photos like they asked me to, pictures from the front, the side, and from the back while I was bending over. I was absolutely stunned. She had to do a quintessential "you there" into the phone so I could come back to effing reality for a moment. At this point, I thought I was the one getting effed with, but she was bawling her eyes out at this point, so I made no assumptions. Other than the fact that there was probably even more to the story, which there effing was. Like a respectful kid listening to a bedtime story, I'm just effing like, and then what happened? She proceeds to tell me that they then threatened to send the photos to her friends and family if she didn't pay them more money. How much money, you might be asking? In true FBI body verifying agent form, they doubled down and said all she had in her savings account would be enough, which was $25,000. I'm just sitting there in my chair like, please, God, no. But she did, and I've considered getting into the scamming business ever since. If this is a real story, this could be someone that should win some type of award. I understand being scammed, but to that level, maybe you deserve it. Sorry. I called 911 today to report a brush fire near downtown Seattle. Here is the call in its entirety. Ring. Tired sounding dispatcher. 911, are you calling to report the brush fire on I-5 by the 520 bridge exit? Me. Yes. Tired sounding dispatcher. We got it. Click. I was kind of impressed, to be honest. I was on a mobile phone, but he had to have a general pin on my location. Not me, but my dad. He gets a call from an old lady saying she can't find her husband's gun. He asks, "Where did you last see it?" And she goes, "Well, I wanted to hide it from my husband, so I put it in the toaster, and then I donated the toaster to a thrift store." "So ma'am, you put the gun in the toaster, then donated said toaster to a store?" Yes, I did." "Well ma'am, I can't help you with that. Toaster of doom, we like to call it." I have a fun story. My brother is a 911 operator in the area where we live. One day I was at the store with my son and I gave him my phone to play with. Well, he accidentally called 911 and my brother coincidentally is the one who got the call. I guess my son just wanted to talk to his uncle that day, LOL. I had a kid calling for a non-service phone. It's a phone that no longer has a subscription attached to it. Although you can't call anyone else, its scan still can be used to call 911. The problem is that it's untraceable, and this little bastard knew it. Me, 911, where's your emergency? Him, what's up, F-face? Me, 911, what's your emergency? Him, what's up, F-face? Me, 911, what's your emergency? Him, what's up, F-face? Finally, I said, "We have triangulated your position. The police are on the way." After a brief silence, he said, "No, they ain't, F-face." When I worked at a local domestic violence line, someone called in once to report that they ordered a dozen donuts and there were only 11 and the store won't give them another one the next day and their husband is taking it out yelling at the kids. But she didn't want us to talk to her husband, but insisted if she could get one donut out of the place, he would calm down. She had been in and out of the women's shelter, so we knew he was a bad person. Well, he got arrested as he wasn't supposed to be there, restraining order. And she called us back, it's a small city org, and was yelling, she just wanted one effing donut, not to see him arrested. At the time, this wasn't funny, but hindsight and all. It's Thanksgiving Day morning, and I've just started my shift around 5 a.m. I'm the only one working for the day shift and settle in for what should be a mostly peaceful day of hanging out, eating food, playing New Vegas, and relaxing. Then my 911 line rings. I pick it up and go through the usual rundown, only to be greeted not by someone with a medical emergency, a fire, crime in progress, nothing like that. She needed help with making a turkey. I told her this was an emergency line, and she informed me this was an emergency because she had family coming over that night and she had to do Thanksgiving dinner. I apologize for her problem, but inform her it's not an actual emergency, so I need to clear the line. And yes, I went through our procedures to check to see if this was a domestic issue or something like that, where the individual couldn't speak freely. This was not that. She calls back a few minutes later and hangs up upon realizing it's me. She calls back again, gets me, and I inform her it's only me working, so this won't work. Before I can tell her that law enforcement will come out to her location next time, she hangs up. About 10 minutes later, she calls again, pitching a sob story about her Thanksgiving being ruined and needing help to salvage it for her family. I let her know law enforcement is on their way. She tries to call it like I'm bluffing until I read back her address, so she hangs up. Law enforcement arrives and she plays dumb like she has no idea why they are there, but everything's recorded, and we've had her number and address ping with every call. She gets verbal, and they leave only for her to call me back to chew me out for sending law enforcement to her home and scaring her kids. So she wants to talk to my supervisor to file a complaint. Shockingly, this didn't get her very far, but it did get law enforcement back out to her place to actually issue her a citation for abusing 911 and tying up the lines. Monday morning, she called 911 again to complain about me and again got another citation. Then there was the boy who called because his older brother climbed on the roof, couldn't get down, and so he panicked, dialed 911 so we could get his brother down before mom and dad got home. The brother was apparently planning to jump to the trampoline but chickened out and couldn't climb back down. Mom and dad came home while the fire department were getting him down. They weren't happy. Not a 911 operator, but an ex-EMT got an unknown call, arrived on scene. Husband came running at us screaming, "Chicken breath! Chicken breath!" Turned out his wife couldn't breathe due to an allergy. Chicken breath will always be referred to as shortness of breath calls. While working my clinicals in the ER, a guy came in with a glass Coke bottle stuck in his ass. Bless his heart.